Hello, everyone, and welcome back. So we were talking about what episodes we were going to be recording today, because yes, I'm wearing the same sweater as the last episode we watched, or the last episode that you watched with me, because one, this sweater is fantastic, and two, I had zero desire to change. We were talking about how sassy I wanted to be, and one of the new kind of segments that we wanted to create for the podcast was called Spilling the Sauce. These podcast episodes are a little bit more kind of sassy behind the scenes, like unfiltered perspectives on things that typically most people don't talk about. And I thought it was very appropriate to talk about one of my favorite things in the world, which is like the online coach industry and really just coaches in general. And my personal belief that people assume that they are meant to be a coach because they know how to help someone, and that is absolutely not what coaching really is. Too many people in this world have been starting coaching businesses, and I am someone who helps people launch coaching businesses. So I will tell you right now, I think a lot of people can be good at coaching, but I think too many people assume that they can coach because they're like good at answering questions when people ask them, versus like they actually have a skill set or process that they know how to replicate and monetize. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the coaching industry. And this really comes from a place of having to have some hard conversations with people this year, because I've gotten to the point where I'm not interested in making as much money as possible. I really want to work with the clients I want to work with. And I'm starting to have these conversations with people where I'm basically telling them that they are not up for being an entrepreneur, and they don't really have what it takes to be like a successful entrepreneur. Yes, maybe they can sign a client or two. Yes, maybe they can make like a little bit of money, but like, no, they're not meant to be like a real coach and build a full coaching business. And that's okay. It's not for everyone, but here's kind of my like rule of thumb around like the online coaching space. My observation about a lot of people is that they have conditioned themselves. They have thought in their little brains that because they've had conversations with people where they give good advice, that means they should be able to make money off of that. And what I mean by that is, I want you to imagine like you're person A and you're talking to person B who's struggling with something. Person B's awareness on something is different because they're actually in it. Your level of awareness is different. Therefore, you can have a very unique perspective on a problem that the person that is in the situation cannot. Therefore, if you are fairly competent of a human being, as a human being, you would be able to provide good insight to person B because you just naturally are in a different position. That does not make you talented. It doesn't mean that you're good at giving advice. It just means that you are in a different position with a different level of awareness than the person in the situation. A lot of people, when I ask them about what type of business they want to start, they're like, well, I'm really good at giving advice. And I hear this a lot, and it's like literally boils my blood. Not because the person's not trying to be authentic or not trying to like do things from through the lens of integrity. It just like, it kind of makes me want to like scratch out my eyeballs, because it's not a coaching business. Anyway, so I've been hearing this a lot of like, well, I'm really good at giving advice. Like if people ask me questions, I'm really good at answering questions. And so that then becomes the business of like, well, I can help people. I know it can help people. I know it can help people. I know it can help people. And people these days do not hire people because they think that you can help them. People hire people because they have been transformed through content, conversation, something, in a way where they can look at problems and solving problems differently and more impactfully, quicker, or whatever. So when people try to sell, I can help you and I can help everyone, it really creates this very muddy, confused, not effective business that just is never going to scale to anything. So I was like, all right, well, if people are watching this and they do want to be a coach, what should they be considering as far as qualifications that they should evaluate if they are meant to be a coach or not? And so I kind of broke this up into like 3 different areas, but these are the 3 things that I believe you need to have in order to have a coaching business. And the other thing that I want to say on this is that this is not applicable if you are a service provider, like if you want to be a stylist, if you want to be a web designer or something like that. Like this is a very different type of conversation. This is specifically for like coaching. So I just wanted to share that in case this is helpful. So what do you need to be a coach? What do I think makes you a coach versus just someone who is trying to be like, I can be helpful online, which is just, again, not a business. It's just weird. Anyway, I have so many issues with this, but what are the things that actually qualify you to be a coach? The first one, in my opinion, is you need to be able to identify a specific signal of your audience that makes them a potentially good fit of being supported by you. And if you're like, what the fuck does that mean, Ashley? Let me break it down. So when you think about what you want to coach on, so let's say you want to be a health coach, right? If you are like, I want to help people with their health and fitness, I want you to think about what is going on in that person's reality that you want to help them with that makes them need you. So for example, if someone's been, working for, 6 years in a really high pressure job, and because they're constantly stressed at work, their habits and their eating patterns have become really inconsistent and really kind of quick and just as a necessity versus like something that is substantiating, what their body is needing and the nutritional value and all the things that their body's needing. Like they've basically been this high pressure job for years, and therefore like they've neglected really healthy habits because they're basically just eating to survive and eating to like navigate the day. That would be an amazing signal. That is kind of a moment in time that we can evaluate as this is causing a need for what you do. Now, why is this important? Because when people are thinking about their ideal client, when I ask them like who their ideal client is, they're always like, they say the same bullshit. Working moms, okay? Or busy moms. What mom is not busy? Or like women in their 30s, like all this bullshit examples of ideal clients. An ideal client is someone who is navigating a specific thing that creates a desire for change, not an age group, not if they're busy or not, like, or high achieving people. Oh my God, if I see high achieving women, what the fuck? Like, that's not an ideal client. Like, that's not an ideal client. An ideal client is like, what is someone navigating that requires them to make a change? And why is solving that problem important to them? That's how I look at ideal clients. So when you think about what you want to coach in, if you're a health coach, I want you to think about your own situation. What caused you to prioritize health? That would be an amazing signal to be a reason that someone needs your help, right? Like for me, I don't just work with people who want to launch a business or make a lot of money. I work with people who've gotten to the point where their pursuit of scaling has been about adding and putting more things into their business versus subtracting and making it simple. And they've gotten to the point where their business is heavy in every bucket of marketing, sales, delivery, all of it. And they're like, I want to make more money, but I literally am like at my capacity. That's like my ideal client. That is an aha signal moment that is saying there is a problem here. We need to do something about it. This is literally how I market. This is also how I look at ideal clients. So when you think about your ideal client, what is going on in their current reality that has caused them to be at a point where they need to make a change? What is happening in their current reality that has put them in a position where they need to make a change? If you cannot talk about your ideal client that way, then all you're doing is saying like, I just want to help people. And like, again, that is not a business. So what does that look like? Who is your person? What position are they in? What does that like mean for them? That is what your first thing needs to be. And that actually for us, when we teach business owners how to scale, that's what we call identity. This is like an identity piece of like who you are / what you do and who do you help. That's like the first two pieces of identity. So what you do and who you help. That signal piece kind of will answer that question of like, what is the aha moment that someone had where they're like, I've hit a breaking point. I need to do something about this. If you can tell me that, you most likely have a coaching business. So that's the first thing that I would say is like, what is happening right now in someone's reality that makes them need to make a change? What is going on? And it's not like their kids are really exhausting and they're tired, so they need to like have healthy habits. Like, no, think deeper, right? Like we got to really think about this. What is going on in their reality that makes them need to make a change? So the first thing is a specific signal. The second thing, because there's a problem, is the solution. Your ability to solve a problem in a unique way. So we call this unique lens, but the way that you solve problems in a unique lens is through your framework. So when we talk about identity at By the Blazer, again, there's 3 different areas. We've already talked about 2, what you do, who you do it for, aka who you help, and how you do it, which is your framework, number 3. And yes, these are only the first 2 things. So the third one I'll explain, but first one is the signal. It encompasses what you do and who you do it for. And then the second thing, which is the third thing, which is your framework. That's kind of how I look at it. So these 3 things follow under the identity bucket. So your framework is really like, how do you solve problems? So again, when I think about women wanting to scale businesses that are like not burnt out, I think about the fact that I solve it through the lens of streamlined sales processes, rinse and repeat marketing processes, and like scalable signature offers. Like that's kind of how I do it. We have a 6-part framework at By the Blazer: identity, authority, conversion, delivery, optimization, innovation. Those are the 6 pillars of business. The way that we solve those pillars for people That's what's unique about us. So if you hire me as a coach versus someone else as a coach, you're going to look at business completely differently. And if you don't really know what a framework is, let me give you an example. If I was going to hire a web designer and both web designers charged the exact same amount, they had the same kind of end goal, like you saw the same thing, and you had to choose which one you were going to hire. If you talk to web designer A and they're like, hey, Ashley, I would love to do a website for you. There's really kind of like 4 steps that we do with web designer or with our clients to get them to the end goal. The first thing is we identify like how your audience buys and how we get them to the buying process as quickly as possible. Second, we identify like key information that they need to see in order to make sure that the website is designed for quick conversion. The third thing that we do is we make sure that the website is aligned with brand positioning, since you're going to be selling high ticket, and positioning is our 4th pillar. And then the 4th thing that we do is we make sure that it's interactive and innovative, so that it also shows that your brand is, more than just a static coaching business, and you really feel, this like innovative energy from your business. Those are the 4 kind of key steps that we take with our clients. That would be what we call a process framework. It's step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. But then there's also a pillar framework. It's just kind of like elements that they use, like 3 key elements that they focus on. So let's say second web designer says, hey, Ashley, would love to be, your web designer, blah, 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 blah. These are the kind of the 3 things that we always identify from a web designer standpoint that make our clients successful. The first one is simplicity, making sure that your website is super simple and easy and simple to navigate. The second thing that we prioritize, or the other thing that we prioritize, is streamlined information. We really make sure that we only include elements that your audience cares about. We don't really convoluted, messy, shoved together websites. We like very bare minimum. And then the third thing is, simple updates. As a business owner, it's really critically important that you are able to go in and update the information, change it as your business evolves and scales. So those are the things that we care about. Those are the 3 elements that we care about. The first one had this very specific process around like conversion. The other one had 3 elements around simplicity and ease of use for the consumer, and also like ease of use for me. You probably got from those 2 frameworks a completely different idea of which web designer you would hire, right? That is their framework. One had a pillar framework, the B person, because it's 3 elements that they prioritize. All 3 have to be balanced and equally supported in the process in order to get to the client to the goal. The first person had a process framework. They had 4 key steps that they do with every single client to get them from point A to point B. Now, the way that they do that is going to be different per client, but that's exactly how they solve the problem. So when we think about frameworks, when we think about solving problems, your framework should be your way, whether it's a process framework or a pillar framework, of getting someone to the end goal. And the way that you explain this framework is 1, very important marketing, but also 2, very important sales, so that people understand how you get them from point A to point B. Because again, this idea of I can help someone can't just be like, well, when they come to me, I can only work with them one-on-one because everyone's so different. If you fucking tell me that, you don't have a business, you have a therapy office. And I'm sorry, it's an unlicensed one at best. So it doesn't work for you. You have to have a process. The process needs to be repeatable and customizable. So with every single client, every 150 clients I'll work with this year, we use the same 6-pillar framework. We do it differently per client, but it's the same process every single time. With pillar framework, same idea. You should always have those things considered with a client project, and just might look a little bit differently of how you execute that per client. So that's how you can have a scalable business, is when you have a framework, but the way that the client navigates the framework is a little bit different. That's where the customization in business comes from, but that's where the business comes from as far as you have a process. So again, kind of repeating where we're at so far, first thing you need in order to have a coaching business is a specific signal, an aha moment that makes your ideal client need you, and a purpose for needing you. The second thing we need is a framework or unique lens of solving problem. And those 2 things encompass the 3 areas of identity, which is what you do and who you do it for. That's what the signal kind of encompasses. And the third one is how you do it. So that's identity. Those are the 3 areas of identity: specific, signal, and framework. The third thing that you need is very simple. It's results. The ability to actually create results because you've done it in the past. Proof of success. Now, again, with a web design business, you're going to have to take on a client and learn for the first time. With a coaching client, you should have either done it for yourself or done it with someone else. I could have very well started a resume career coaching business because I had literally helped many of my friends get jobs, edited their resumes, done that for many, many years. I had a lot of success in that bucket. I had a lot of success with helping my friends with finances, which is why my first business was a financial coaching business. And I had also helped with Disney, with Target, with Enterprise, individuals scale their sales and scale their businesses. But then I had also scaled my own business. I scaled her 7-figure story to $1 million in a little over 15 months. So I understood how to then take the principles I had learned in real world and integrated them into like the online coaching space and online service provider space and course creation space that I now support today. So I had a lot of success in business and I had a history of success. You need that in order to be successful. You can't just like start a coaching business and be like, I've never done anything in this category. Like my biggest pet peeve is when people are like, I'm a business coach. And I'm like, what businesses have you scaled? And they're like, well, I haven't. Like you can't be a business coach. Or if you're like a health coach, if you have never really supported someone in their health journey or your own health journey, what do you really know about health? And it doesn't mean that you have to have 100 testimonials, but if you can't come up with an aha reason of why someone needs you, if you don't have a process in which you solve problems, going back to like, well, the first thing we do is we look at your content. The second thing we do is we bring in your key activation points into your website. Then we do, like, if you don't have a process, like for me with financial coaching, I was like, these are the 4 elements that we evaluate to make sure that they're balanced to have your 4 buckets of wealth. We have these 4 things. We do it with every single client. Like I had that because I had done that for myself. And I had also done that kind of in the way that I evaluated my clients' budgets. If you don't have those things, you probably don't really know how to coach. What you're good at is answering questions, which again is not a coaching business. It's not going to scale. It's not going to be successful. So that's my philosophy on that fucking topic. And I could talk about this all day long because I really don't think people know how to scale businesses. And I think people just think like if you're helpful or if you can answer questions, that's good enough. But not only is that not going to get you clients in the marketing and sales bucket, it's also going to fail you in delivery. And something I was talking about with one of my good friends the other day is we're both in this mastermind and we were kind of talking about this experience and we had been in different programs where the coaches, what they do is when you ask a question, they just answer it, but they don't teach you how to know how to answer it. And what I mean by that is if you say to me, Ashley, what piece of content should I post today? And I say, hey, what if you go and you post about this topic? Yes, I answered the question, but then the next day when you're like, well, what do I talk about now? You have to come back to me to be like, well, Ashley, what do I post about today? I'm not teaching you how to think. I'm not teaching you how I came up with that answer. Good coaches will teach you their process so you can replicate it. So if instead I say, okay, client, what are you going to talk about today? Well, what's the pillar that we're going to talk about this week? Like, what's the theme that we're talking about? Oh, well, I'm going to be talking about marketing. Great. Okay. Under marketing, what signal are we going to be talking about this week? Oh, well, I kind of forgot how to do signals. Great. Let's go back to signals. Then we can break that out into a problem or agitation solution piece. If I don't teach them the process, they're always going to need me. And even though, yes, you want your clients in coaching to stay forever, I want my clients to basically want to stay into coaching because they keep expanding the way that they learn versus like need me because I just answer questions and they need me to like answer questions constantly for them because they don't learn how to solve problems on their own. Good coaching is about teaching people how to solve problems with your process. And if you don't do that, you don't have a coaching business. So sorry, not sorry. This is a very important topic. Coaches beware. If you come and try to work with me, I'm going to snap you into massive fucking success because these are the things that you will have. This is what creates 100K per month businesses. This is what creates a 50K cash week. This is what creates the magic is this stuff. So if you are focusing too much on, I'm really good at being helpful and I'm really fun and I'm really supportive and that, like, you don't have a business. I promise you, you will fail in this industry. And that's something that a lot more people need to have the guts to tell you. So this is a little bit of a spilling the sauce, spilling the tea, Cuntosaurus Rex Ashley episode. But I do think it's an important topic for any of you guys who do want to take a successful coaching business or a concept for a business and turn it into $1 million company. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode and I will see you next week.